All right, let's see here. Hey, band directors, it's Dwayne Huff of Band Leadership Seminars. Band Leadership Online going live in two places here: the YouTube channel, and the Facebook channel. Making sure it happened this time. I had to stop it last time. Hope you're doing well. Happy Friday. I hope concert season, if you're still in that, is going really well. That you guys are having success. And then making the transition into marching band. Listen, before I forget, I'm gonna jump in here and say, run over to bandleadershipseminars.com. Got a free, brand new mini course that will help you prepare your leaders to be servant leaders this coming marching band season. And I'm doing some free live events this year. If you want to get on that, be considered for one of those free live events. Also on bandleadershipseminars.com, there's a link. It'll give you all the information on that. But I wanted to talk today about how do you recognize servant leadership day to day in your band when you see it? And here's what kind of brought this topic up today this morning. As always, we get the kids up at about 6 o'clock and they're moving, rolling around, doing their thing. Well, my oldest son this morning wasn't feeling good, and he wasn't feeling good. And so his younger brother, my youngest son, who's 9 years old, went to the kitchen and fixed him a cup of water and brought it to him. And when he was finished, he went back. He said he needs more. He comes back and he does that. And I was just getting my morning started, drinking my coffee, and noticed in the moment there that I had a servant leader on my hands. He's a great kid. He's got a big heart. He's very kind. He thinks of others. He's trying to help and serve. And he does have a temper, and he does get a little emotional from time to time and blow up, but it goes away pretty quick. But at the end of the day, he's the one in the family who's the hugger, who's the giver, who's the emotional person. And this morning, he just decided he was going to help his brother, who wasn't feeling good. Now, as any sibling relationship you can imagine goes, they don't always get along. And the older one always picks on him. And in my estimation, sometimes treats him a little bit too harshly. So I'm constantly trying to get him to stop that. But no matter how he's treated, he always bounces back and he always lands in that place. He's a great example to me of a servant attitude, of a servant heart. And so I recognized him this morning. I said, man, that was amazing. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for doing that for your brother. You are a servant leader, right? And so I kind of wanted to go live this morning and ask you, how are you recognizing servant leadership day to day in your band when it surfaces, whenever it rises, right? And so if you're so inclined, if you're watching this live or on the replay, drop it in the comments. Let me know. How do you recognize that? I'm sure your peers would like to know as well, so they can do the same thing. And, for those of you who are not familiar with what I do, again, my name is Dwayne Huff, Band Leadership Seminars. I've been for the past 7 years traveling the country working with high school and college band programs to help them select, vet, train, and develop their student leaders and build team amongst their entire bands. My background is a 9-time student leader, 6-time drum major in the marching band, never been a drum major. Never been a band director, but I honor you for what you do, because music educators shape the destiny and direction of my life. And I'm eternally grateful. That's why I do this. And bands who are seriously committed to not only the show, the performance, but the training and development of their leaders, because they understand that all bands that are highly successful have strong leadership in place, and they're willing to make an investment in that leadership development. Not excuses, not reasons why they can't, but make an investment because they realize, just like bringing in a clinician that can work the band, that can rehearse the band, or can handle a particular section, they know that making the investment in leadership development is also very important. And those bands reach out to me and they say, hey, Dwayne, here's what we need to understand. We want servant leaders, not authoritarian leaders, not dictatorial leaders. How do we produce that? And one of the things I share with them is that you have to consistently be reinforcing and recognizing and even teaching your students about servant leadership, what that means to you, what it means to the band, and how you see it, because they're students. They don't get it. They don't understand. They don't know until they're taught, And if you don't know my background, I got to study with Dr. Tim Lassenheiser for 2 summers in a leadership camp, and then went on to work with George Parks, Drum Major Academy, and the gentleman by the name of Tom Leslie. I went on a journey after that to see how I could come back and serve and give to your band programs and students and make it better for them, so that even though their brains aren't developed in that prefrontal cortex where they can make decisions in consequence, what can we give them? What can we teach them that would allow them to be consistent servant leaders, be effective, and do the job right for you, so that your rehearsals run more effectively, you can build a program that you need to, and it doesn't derail the whole process. And so one of the things that was taught to me were the principles and tenets of servant leadership. And I went on to study some other great names. One you might recognize is Dr. John Maxwell. I'm certified speaker, trainer, and coach with John Maxwell team. So I got all those credentials to come back and serve the students and serve your band. And I think the thing that keeps coming up time and time and time again is that whenever you see your students, even in the most basic way, being servant leaders, giving, helping, enabling, supporting not only you, but their peers in their day-to-day, being able to point it out specifically, the behavior that you're seeing, and saying, hey, you know what you just did right there is a great example of servant leader. That is so like you. Congratulations, keep that up. Because if you're able to identify it, specific behaviors, and reinforce it, then they're more likely to repeat it. They like the feeling. They know exactly what they did right, and they can repeat it, right? But if you know, like any adult, if you're just like, hey man, that was a great job, keep it up, they're like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So we have to help them self-identify, self-discover, and realize what it is that servant leadership is, why it's important, and then reinforce that. And if you're going to have a conversation real soon with your leaders, again, before I forget, bandleadershipseminars.com, there's a free resource there for you, a mini course that will help you start this process, bringing your students through it. Run over there and get it. And I'm also doing some free live clinics this year. If you'd like to be considered for one of those, run over there. There's some information there as well. But you have to lay it out and show them. So here's what I want to know if you're watching this or if you're watching on the replay. Drop in the comments, how do you recognize student leadership on a daily basis? How are you showing students, telling students, helping them to see the difference between being a servant leader and being someone who just dictates and tries to push their peers around or tries to make them, because they're all about the title, they're all about the status, and they're not about service. I posted on my page, on this page, and if you like these videos, like it, you'll see when I go live. But I posted, my last post said, it was a quote. It said, if serving is beneath you or below you, then leadership is beyond you, right? And I think that's a very hard thing for students to wrap their head around. But if they know specifically the behaviors of a student leader, and I'll give you an example. Dr. Tim, whenever I was with him, he would challenge us and invite us that during the lunch period where we would go as a group of drum majors out into a general population of band kids, and then other people that may have been in that cafeteria area, he'd say, I'm going to invite you to challenge yourself that whenever you get up and pick up your plate and clear the table after you're finished eating, that you walk over to somebody else's table and ask if you can take their plate and dump it in the trash, which was a very uncomfortable exercise, because as teenagers, we're so self-conscious, right? And oh my God, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and I'm going to go ask this kid if I can take that. They're going to laugh at me. They're going to think I'm stupid. And he would reinforce, I know it's uncomfortable. It's not going to feel good. But if you continue to do it over time, it gets more comfortable, and you're going to create a reputation of being someone who's here to give and here to serve. And people are going to endear themselves to you, trust you more, like you more, because they understand you're in it for them and serving them. So just one example. And I would invite you today, before you get your day started, to jot down a couple of things that you see as values and virtues that you want to see in your student leaders, and then help them to understand it. One thing, there's a little sidetrack here. I'm just like a moment in my head. This time of year, I know that there's transition out of concert season. I hope you guys are doing phenomenal, by the way. And then into marching band season. And I know everybody does it different. And after doing this for 7 years, because I've never been a band director, I realized that this happens at different times. So no matter when that is for you, whether it's now, whether it's next month, whether it was last month, drop it in the comments so I have a little heads up. Because I know this time of year I go pretty hard in doing these and recommending and suggesting that we work together on some level. And I know sometimes it can seem a little bit intense, but I'm still trying to figure out the timing. So if you'd help me out with that, that'd be great. Listen, if this message has served you, please like it and share it and give it a heart or a wow, and tag another band director in here if you think they could benefit from this. I'm going to do a follow-up video after this one for the students about little ways to demonstrate servant leadership. So if you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, or best practices around that, drop it in the comments. I'll be sure to address it in that upcoming video. So before I sign off here, I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're having a great concert season. Run over to bandleadershipseminars.com. Tons of ways that we can work together. Starting my resources now start at only $27. That will serve you big time. And we can do anything from that to working to get alive if that's your thing. I've got a free resource over there for you, Band Leadership Mini Course. So that's the first link that's on the first page. Right below it, I have some information about some free clinics that I'm doing this year on my dime, and I'd love to be there in your band room. So if that's you, check out how you can get involved in making that happen. And until then, remember, you can inspire superior performance. Just show these kids what servant leadership looks like to you. Recognize it when you see it in those moments, but be very specific on the behavior, and you'll start to reinforce and see a culture begin to develop. We all know that consistency is important. We have to realize that these kids, until they have it on their radar and understand what the behaviors of servant leaders look like, they may never step up fully for you. And they may revert to the tactics and the things that they understand about dealing with people. And sometimes that can derail a lot of things, including your rehearsals. So if any way I can serve you, feel free to reach out to me, drop it in the comments. Stay tuned. I'll do some more of these live videos. Make sure you like the page so you see when I go live. And have a tremendous weekend. Bye-bye.